Well, thank you everybody for coming. It's a beautiful day, and you could do 1,000 things in the garden on a day like today. I have to thank a lot of people, and there are so many people that I decided instead of mentioning everybody, I made this kind of web of support, because lots of individuals, of community, volunteer groups, of organizations, of institutions have helped and participated and contributed. So what I did, I hope this is self-explanatory. These are the organizations, and here are the people, and I want to thank everybody who is here for coming, who's sharing, and all the people on here. So, let's see here. So this is the support, and one of the crucial organizations to give support was the Rutland Regional Planning Commission, because they do have digital aerial photos of the whole area. And they let me use them, and so what I did is, Michelle put it onto the computer, and I was flying virtually all over Rutland County. I saw everything, and I was looking at patterns and designs, and then I had to make choices. Ideally, I would love to have represented every community. Well, the scope of the project didn't allow it, and plus there's lots of space anyway still. But I had to make choices about which communities to represent. And so my criteria were threefold. One, basically, I was looking for interesting field and design pattern with an artist's eyes. And every town has really interesting patterns. The other one was, I wanted to have a spread of all over Rutland County. I didn't want it to be just focused in one area. And thirdly, I wanted to have communities that are less well known too than the most obvious and famous one, at least from our point of view up there. So these were my criteria. A spread all over, how it looks, and being inclusive. So after I had decided that, I did the research, I did a lot of historic research, and I discovered how important the slate industry was for this county. It was amazing. So I decided to to show part of the slate industry here, and up on the third floor there is a series of 4 slate paintings and then a couple of small slate paintings that show quarries and that show workers' lives. And in order to paint it, I also had to go and see it. So I went to visit some of the quarries, abandoned ones and active ones. And I remember walking down on an abandoned quarry east of Lake Bomoseen, and out of the earth came this cold blast of dank air. And you knew there was something down there. And you had that feeling. I remembered what Jan Albers said in her book Hands on the Land. She talked about the slate industry, and one of the quotes in the book was that this woman, Emily Morrow, said, we women learned early on, right in the morning, to sweep the floor, to do the dishes, to make the beds, because you never know when somebody came back mangled, dead, and the coroner or the doctor or the rescue would have to come. And even now it makes my hair stand on end, because when I felt this blast of air, I could just see and imagine the history of slate here. It was hard work. It was also full of hope. I mean, people in every generation really climbed up the economic and social ladder. So slate was a real important part here. I painted 2 small representational paintings with the text by Jan Albers around it, which is up on the 3rd floor, and then a large painting that eventually I decided I had to cut into quarters because I couldn't pull the center together. And they're upstairs. And I would like to urge you to go up and see it. And then when I was conceiving of this project, I thought I wanted to do something that involved the communities directly. Not just reading about it and seeing, but involve them. And so I thought of the community maps. And that was a very rich and fortuitous experience. I would go into communities, and I picked Mendon and Proctor, basically because I needed community leaders who were willing to provide an entree and to acquaint me with the people and to shepherd this through. And there was Ann Singeiser and Nancy Kennedy. I would go into communities and I would ask the people, what do you love about your place? What do you want to not forget? What do you want your children to know? What do you want to not lose? And so there's all this input. Down here is the Menden map, and one floor up is the Proctor map. And all these rich things came back from the community. Everything that you see on this map is what people told me. Everything but one little thing that I got of a hiking book. But everything else is something that people really wanted to keep for their community. And I think there's a lot of scope for community maps because it makes people aware of what they have. It helps people protect what they have. And also it encourages the feeling that this is a unique place and we don't want our place always to get more and more the same as every other place. So it started out as a small idea for this commission, and it turned out to be one of the richest experiences. And I really want to thank the people who made it possible, the people who came and met and talked and shared and lent me their pictures. And so thank you. And finally, I want to say something else, how things have come around for me. After all this work and so many people's hours, I always have sort of the fear and the suspicion that art is frivolous and that it's self-indulgent. And it's always in the back of my mind, especially when we think of the things that we are confronted now. Don't need to say all these things, but I always feel like, and then I realized I was like that 45 years ago. I was a young woman, I wanted to be an artist, and then I lost, at the critical time, I lost nerve. I lost confidence in myself, I lost confidence in the purpose of art, and I decided to learn something useful, and I started the study of medicine. Because I wanted to be useful. I had no idea that you needed to love what you do. Okay? And now I have come really around. I feel this art is in the service of community, it's in the service of land, and it's in the service of us here, what I love. So I feel, like 45 years ago, I didn't know what it was good for. I know now what it's good for. Mm-hmm. And I also want to say that I looked at it in a larger historic context. 500 years ago, artists painted, they got their commissions from the church. They painted for the glory of God, or the Virgin Mary, or a saint. And their work was embedded in an abiding faith. Like, for instance, the beautiful, beautiful frescoes of Fra Angelico in Florence. Only a man of faith could have painted like that. It just makes you cry looking at it. And then later on, like 300 years later, artists sort of started to paint on speculation. They painted what moved them, what aroused them, and what they could sell. And I feel with this series of paintings, I have come full circle. I'm also painting out of faith, okay? I'm painting out of faith in human community, in our land here, and beauty. So that's why I'm painting, and I am very grateful to have gotten this commission because it allowed me to paint from a stable and abiding center and love. Thank you.